Joining me today on the TrueLens Podcast, I have two guests from the city of Woodbury. Jen McLoughlin, the Environmental Resources Manager, and Kristin Seaman, the Senior Environmental Resources Coordinator. If you want to save the earth, this podcast episode is for you.
Welcome to the TrueLens Podcast. Local stories, TrueLens Podcast. Rolling in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. True telling them.
Thanks for tuning in. I'm Ann Schweisguth, your host, and joining me today is Kristin. Say hi, Kristin.
Hi, Ann.
And Jen.
Hi, Ann.
Thanks so much for coming on the podcast today. I'm excited to have you. We are going to talk about cool things like native plants and clean water and just in general being kind to the planet. Now, I say this in the utmost of admiration to you that you guys kind of nerd out over environmental issues, right? That's your jam.
Yeah.
What is the environmental department in the city of Woodbury?
So the environmental division is part of the engineering department. Our role is really to enhance and protect natural resources around the city, but we work in a number of different areas like stormwater, water conservation and quality, energy conservation, renewable energy, waste and reduction. We cover a lot of different things in our group.
You really have a lot of initiatives and different things going on all the time. We've worked with you a lot with TrueLens and making different videos. We always have a good time about that. We'll share some of those videos in this podcast as we get a little further. The city recently adopted the Environmental Stewardship Plan. Now, what is that and why is it important?
Great question. So the Environmental Stewardship Plan, or we are also calling it the ESP, really helps guide the environmental division's work, but not only just ours, but throughout the city. The coolest thing I think about the Environmental Stewardship Plan is that it really was a grassroots effort. A number of residents started to petition City Council and ask that the city create something. We've been doing environmental initiatives for years. I've been with the city for 20 years. But what we really needed was a way to document like our steps forward.
Kind of a roadmap.
Yes.
Yeah, and what you want to do. Do you want to add anything to that, Kristin?
Yeah, maybe the only thing I would add, Jen said it great, but it's what the city should do or can do, but also what residents can do and how we can engage with each other around this topic. So we can only control so much at the city. We only have so many properties, so many vehicles, so much that we have control over, but we have 80,000 residents who are also capable and engaged and want kind of their own roadmap, but to see what they can do and how they can help. So that's kind of another piece of it is what can we do and how can we engage out in community and with different groups that are working towards the same kind of goals.
Kind of if everybody pitches in, it becomes a big snowball.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What kind of questions do you get from residents about environmental issues?
People are looking outside their front windows on their drive to work and asking questions of, what is that pond? Why does it look like that? How can I, bring things at home, do things at home kind of differently? So we have a lot of great opportunities and we keep building on opportunities to get residents engaged, such as the food scraps program.
Yeah, that's kind of relatively new. It's run by Washington County, correct?
Washington and Ramsey County work together on it. So a lot of different communities have been brought into the program as they've been able to build on capacity.
Well, and they just expanded that to the whole county, correct?
Washington County, I think, is it.
Yeah, I think they just opened it up to every city, which is great.
It's a really easy way people can do composting from home, send it off with their trash as they were going to either way, just in a separate bag, and have that kind of closed loop of instead of it going to a landfill and being waste, it's going to be turned into compost and potentially, refuel ourselves, our food systems.
Very cool. Do you find that citizens in Woodbury are really wanting to do this kind of work?
Yes. The Environmental Stewardship Plan started because a number of residents had petitioned City Council. They wanted the city to really be intentional about what we wanted to do in the future. And then throughout that process, we wanted to make sure that we really were hearing from the community on what they wanted to see in the plan. So we had a number of different workshops, and we had a working group of residents that met several times over the 2-year period. And so as that, then we were able to identify all the actions and the goals in the overall plan based on what residents wanted to see. And right now we have a 2-year roadmap that we're implementing for 2025 and 2026. And all of the actions in that roadmap really were prioritized by the community. So they have their fingerprints all over it. If I can, one more thing that we really saw throughout the process is that residents really want to know what they can do and how they can help. And so as such, we've developed our Woodbury Green Talks speaker series, and we're trying to develop more and more volunteer opportunities for residents.
And Green Talks usually happens right in Central Park, right?
Yes.
Right below where we're recording our podcast today.
Yes.
So very cool. Well, we're going to talk about some of the initiatives that people have been getting involved with. And we'll start with our first video today, which is about storm drain markings. We did this, I can't remember if this was this year or last year.
I think last summer.
Last summer. And it's about two brothers in Woodbury named Neil and Narayan and their dad, Ajit, that go around installing these no dumping drains in the lakes signs near the storm drains in town. And also they hand out a lot of flyers and educate people about how they can help keep our water clean. So let's watch this little clip and then we'll chat more about it.
Great.
People should know about storm drains, because if people don't know about them, they could just dump random things in the storm drains. It'll go into the lakes and cause pollution, which is really bad for the environment. So for us to each week on weekend, you just take a brush, you clean off the storm drain of any debris. So I use a scrubber, I use the drain marker, I have to use this glue. You stick this sign and then you clean around the storm drain of any debris, and then you just keep it clean. You hand out this paper that says adopt a drain to help clean your own storm drain. And then we hand out this flyer how to do it. To make sure people know, don't litter on storm drains, otherwise it can be bad for the environment, really bad.
And so people don't dump waste into the storm drain because it dumps into lakes, and help the environment from pollution.
You can watch that entire story on the Woodbury City YouTube page. Just search storm drain markings. Now, Kristin, what are some other ways that people can help keep our water clean?
There's a bunch of things people can do from home without much investment or cost, which is awesome. So with the storm drain stenciling, the storm drain marking program, we also have Adopt a Drain, which, again, no cost. Anyone can sign up. It's just going online to the Adopt a Drain website, signing up for a storm drain near you, maybe near your park, near your school, anything like that, and making the commitment to go check on it, remove leaves or any debris in front of the storm drain on a somewhat regular basis. The city does a pretty advanced job on street sweeping at this point. So we have sweepers running every day all summer.
You have a lot of street sweepers, and they all have cool names.
Cool names, yeah.
Yeah.
Residents can help name our street sweepers every fall. We have a naming contest, so that's another way just to get engaged in the topic. But the Adopt a Drain program really supplements the street sweeping program and enhances it further. So while our sweepers are constantly running, they're not able to make it to every road every day.
Especially in the fall.
Especially in the fall.
Yeah.
Leaves are falling, grass clippings, all the different pollen that comes out of the trees in the spring. By residents committing to help, really, again, it enhances that ability to keep debris out of the streets, keeps it out of the stormwater system, which keeps it out of wetlands, lakes, and rivers downstream. So it's really helping closer to home, right at the source, instead of down when it's maybe becoming a problem.
And that's kind of always your big message. Anything that goes down the storm drain goes right into our lakes and rivers.
Exactly.
And that goes right back into the system. So
Yeah.
if we can stop it from there, that's the big part. There's also salt in the winter, right?
Yeah, so residents can become salt smart, so educating themselves about what they can do to decrease chloride entering the system. Anything that we put on hard surface is going to drain eventually and, again, go to lakes, wetlands, and rivers. By putting less salt down, putting salt down smarter in areas where you really need it, using grit, the watershed districts, another great partner of ours, has been promoting the application of grit to create
That's kind
traction.
of a newer thing too, right? Instead of salt, you can put this grit, which is really little rocks.
Tiny rocks, yeah.
Yeah, and then just sweep them up and use them again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so low cost, doesn't add phosphorus or chlorides to our system at a later date.
Oh, very cool. And then, of course, we have to talk about pet waste because, well, you're the environmental
We're dog
team.
people, yeah.
We love dogs, but there are some things they leave behind.
Yeah, so always promote picking up after your pet. If it's in your yard, obviously along trails and sidewalks, that's a help for our other trail users who might step in them. We don't want that. But then removing that kind of source from the system is really helpful to our waterways.
And this story that we just watched with the Yadav family, so cool that they initiated this.
Yeah.
They wanted to come out and do something. How do you get people like that excited and informed?
Yeah. Especially in summer, we have lots of families, groups of, young kids who want to get out there and get involved and do a public service kind of project. Lots of great opportunities with Adopt a Park, storm drain marking, Adopt a Drain, those kind of things. Get people outside on the best days of the year.
Right.
Works well.
Today is lovely.
Yeah, we got lucky today. So that's another way. And again, people are seeing things. They're noticing the leaves fall off the trees. And maybe when it's really heavy rainfall, they're seeing kind of that flooding, small flooding happening in the roads, and they're asking themselves questions of how can I do? What's the city doing? That we can kind of, work together for the solutions.
I always think if everybody just lived like a kindergartner, this world would be so much better. Because what do kindergartners learn? If there's litter on the ground, what do?
Yeah.
Pick it up. Every kindergartner will tell you this thing, and they'll all pick it up. If we all just did that, imagine.
Yeah, recycling too.
Right? They love to recycle and sort things. Yeah, we need to go back to kindergarten. Before we go to our next video, let's just talk quickly about city. How's the city manage stormwater? Because that's a big deal. There's a lot of stormwater in Woodbury.
Yep. In the city of Woodbury, we have hundreds of ponds, and they are constructed at different times and kind of for different purposes. So some are intended to hold water. Some were originally wetlands that were transitioned to stormwater ponds long ago that we're kind of like working to improve at this point because we have deposited a lot of sediment in them over time, just again off the roads, off, trails, those kind of things, trees, all the debris that's been getting to them. And then we have dry ponds, which are infiltrating water back into our groundwater system, which is also super important to us and supplies our drinking water system. So the city manages stormwater through inspections, maintenance, education, a whole bunch of different components we apply to this really robust system with new development and redevelopment, even city projects like here at Central Park. We have standards that developments have to accomplish in order to improve water quality than what it was before.
It's kind of something that we don't think about, but is so important to our everyday life.
Definitely.
But if we don't think about it, you're doing your job really well.
I hope so.
Let's switch over to solar power. Our next clip is about solar energy. This was actually shot in 2021, and I actually shot this video, so it was fun to look back at it. It's with Woodbury residents Mark and Monica Frazier, who had installed solar panels on their property. So let's take a look.
Our property is between Pioneer and County Road 19 on Dale Road. During the summer months, actually probably from March to October, it'll generate about 2.5 megawatts of power per month. So it produces quite a bit.
It's 64 panels, isn't it?
I think so, 64 panels.
We generate more electricity than we use in the summer, and so they send that back to us. And then at the end of the year, we get about $1,000 check, I think, because they also calculate a rebate based on your total annual production.
I don't think we really did it for the money aspect of it. It's just the right thing to do. I think that was our goal.
So residents can utilize solar energy, but the city also is using solar energy, correct?
Yes, that's right. The city of Woodbury, we just put a large array on Central Park when we did that expansion and remodeling project. And then in 2025, we also installed solar at our Fleet Services building over on Tower Drive. The thing about that is that it is actually supplementing 120% of the power used there at at the Fleet Services building. And then one more thing is that we just installed a battery energy storage system that is then connected to the solar array. So in times when we might lose power, need backup power, or even every day so that we can lower our peak demand of energy use throughout the day, then we can rely on that battery energy storage. And we were able to fund that project with a grant through the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. And they also supplemented part of the solar array there at Fleet Services.
Oh, that's great. You guys did so many environmental items at Fleet Services. Like you have those porous papers there with the
tires.
Tank. There's like the tires.
Yeah.
Underneath there's tires, and that what was the purpose of the tires again?
Yep, the tire-derived aggregate below the pervious pavement.
Those are the words I was trying to find.
I know. I knew what you were
Yes.
getting to.
Yeah.
So that's all part of our stormwater system when we redid the buildings at Public Works and Fleet Services back a number of years at this point. So we had to create ways to treat our stormwater within pretty industrial and heavily used buildings. So that was kind of a different application. It's been used all over the state, but that was our first time with it.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, great way to recycle and create an, infiltration basin basically under the parking lot.
And it looked cool on video because I remember we had like a drone shot. But
yeah, that was fun.
there's also the public safety building is getting a remodel.
Yes, you may have noticed half of it.
I did.
Probably more than half of it now is gone. We will have solar on that building also, the final product. We had a small array on that building, which was the first one the city had, but it was definitely out of date, and so we're excited to get something more modern and efficient.
Why is it important for the city to, incorporate solar in these projects?
There's a few reasons why solar energy is beneficial to the city. First of all, it lowers operating costs for our facilities, especially at Fleet Services. And then it's also a local way to produce energy, and then also lowers our greenhouse gas emissions, which is something that is one of our goals in our environmental stewardship plan. So we're really trying to get all of our buildings reliant on renewable energy as much as we can.
And we didn't really talk about this, but the city has electric cars as well, correct?
Yes, we have a number of plug-in electric hybrid vehicles. And then now we've started to get our full electric. And the exciting part is we have a few of them in public safety that are pursuit rated so they can get to those speeds that the police need. And they're also very quiet. But we have those. And then we also have a truck or two through our Public Works Department that is fully electric.
Wow. I saw that there was a fully electric fire truck in some city in Minnesota, bought one a few years back. And I thought, wow, that is a big vehicle to run on electric. But my husband got an electric vehicle and he won't stop talking about it. So
people love the technology.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Really do.
We're going to keep working on that fire truck.
Okay.
Fire trucks and
Kristen's like, ooh, check.
Yeah.
street sweeper too.
Yeah, one day.
What are some current programs that are available for residents and businesses who maybe want to get into renewable energy and like solar?
So there are a few different opportunities. We are partnered with Home Energy Squad, which is a group that will then, you can schedule a visit for them to come out to your home, and they'll look at opportunities for weatherization, and they can also make recommendations related to solar. We're also in a partnership right now with Electrify Everything. A couple of those green talks that we discussed earlier have been them presenting how to go electric in your home and then reducing greenhouse gases that way. So I would encourage people to check out our Green Talks website because we're having more of those presentations with Electrify Everything coming up in the upcoming months.
Awesome. Okay, let's switch topics to something that I know that, Kristin, you have talked about several times on videos for us, and that's native plants. So recently we did this new promo that we had a little fun with. It's called the Native Plant Tool Shed program that you have. We created this, and it's basically residents can borrow yard tools to create native gardens, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we hired some actors to help us with this little promo and have a little fun. So take a look, and then we'll chat about it.
Making a native plant garden is hard. There's the endless shoveling. Down on your knees edging. And removing that back-breaking buckthorn.
There's got to be an easier way.
There is, thanks to the City of Woodbury's Native Plant Tool Shed.
How does it work?
Glad you asked. The tool shed is free and can be reserved online. Woodbury residents can check out 2 tools at a time that you can use for up to 2 weeks. You can just check them out and pick them up at the Public Works building between 7:30 a.m. and 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. Use them for your weekend project and then return them later. It's an excellent resource for removing non-native turf or invasive weeds like buckthorn. There's also a tool to help with that edging.
My knees will thank me every time I use this half-moon edger.
And busting that buckthorn has never been easier.
Wow, this sod cutter cuts through topsoil with ease.
And planting native plants like coneflower, bee balm, and black-eyed Susans are not only great for pollinators, but they look beautiful too.
Thanks, Native Plant Toolshed.
Go to woodburymn.gov/yard-garden to register and get started.
So Native Plant Toolshed. What kind of tools can people check out?
Buckthorn wrenches, so a small handheld tool people can use to pull out pretty small buckthorn, but after you cut it down, it's a way to kind of maintain and keep up on the resprouts that happen
Because that
naturally.
stuff sticks.
Yeah, it takes a while to get it kind of taken care of, knocked down. We also have a sod kicker, which helps residents remove sod, Kentucky bluegrass, grass that requires a lot of irrigation and water in lieu of or in order to replace it with either native plants, maybe a food garden, something like that. So really, again, simple tool, not mechanical. It does take a little bit of strength behind your boot to make it work, but it's a good way to remove sod in order to, again, replace it with something that's going to be more beneficial to the environment.
I think we saw that a little bit in the video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then half moon edger. So that's just a way to kind of finish off whatever project you do with a nice solid edge, make it look kind of transition nicely between maybe grass and a native garden and make it really easy to maintain where you mow and where you don't mow. It's a lot of good options to use in combo or one at a time.
And they just rent that at Public Works?
At Public Works,
At Public Works, great. What is the borrowing process when they go down to Public Works?
Well, before you go down there, make sure and fill out a form on our website. And so if you just Google Native Plant Toolshed Woodbury, it'll pop right up. It's real simple to go through that process. And then once you hear back that it's available, you'll go in on Tower Drive, Public Works, and you can pick that up. What we really wanted to do is remove barriers. I think that's another thing that we've really been focusing on throughout this stewardship plan process. And so hopefully having these tools available will help remove barriers, and people will be more likely to, like Kristin said, plant natives, pollinators, or a food garden.
And bust that buckthorn.
Yeah. Someone has to.
Someone has to. It's hard work. I've done it. Any other opportunities out there, Kristin?
Yeah. In addition to the Native Plant Toolshed, we have a partnership with the Washington Conservation District. So again, local government agency, great partner of ours. They do free site visits. So similar to the Home Energy Squad that we have looking at the interior of your house, the Washington Conservation District will look at your landscaping, give you advice, maybe create a plan if you want one for where you can put natives or transition from turf to something else, maybe tree care if that's a concern or something that you're working on in your yard. So they're free opportunity. Then they'll also help, again, with the technical information on what to do, how to do it, as well as helping with grants. A lot of local grant opportunities available. We try to streamline things so residents have an easy time getting a couple $100s to help support that project at their house.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I've learned something new.
Great.
You also have a way for people to kind of hear about what's going on, correct?
Yes. For years now, we've had the city's In Touch email notification system. If you go on the city's website, there's a list of different things that you can opt in on receiving messages about and updates. And so there is a sustainability and environment list there, and that would be the best way to learn about what we're up to. And then, of course, checking our website, especially our Green Talks website.
I always get an update from In Touch from when the Green Talks are on and when there's different activities, so I really appreciate that. Anything else you'd like to say today? This is the end of our podcast.
Well, I'm excited because we have a couple more city native restoration projects that we're kicking off. So similar again to the Native Plant Toolshed, we're encouraging residents to do their part in their yard. We're taking on some bigger ones at the city level, so maybe keep an eye out for that. A lot of our larger parks are focused on our lakes and wetlands, so we want to do our part to increase and enhance the habitat and the resilience of the vegetation around those major features. So I'm excited about some of those that we've been working on, and I can't wait for residents to see us through the process, and then obviously the end result when things are more restored than they are today. Get that buckthorn out of there.
I love it. And so pretty, some of those parks with the native plants. So
when
beautiful
things are in
the
bloom
summer
right now. Yeah.
Gorgeous. And, we should give a little shout out to your summer intern too.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Our summer interns been working really hard on getting a couple messages out in different ways with us and supporting our initiatives. So it's been awesome. We always appreciate our summer interns, and her name's Ella. She's doing a great job.
Good job, Ella. We
Cheers.
appreciate you. All right. Well, Jen McLoughlin, Environmental Resources Manager, and Kristin Seaman, Senior Environmental Resources Coordinator for the City of Woodbury. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Everybody, thanks for listening and take care.